Hey, shout out, folks, from shoutoutfromthepit.com. We're your host, Redbeard. Shout out, Redbeard.
Hey there, Bob.
And Bobber, a.k.a. the Old Rucker. I get them all confused. Folks, this was a wild episode for us to work with. So right up front, just a couple of disclaimers. Some of this material could be very, very sensitive. If you're listening to it and you feel, I guess the word we use in our community is triggered, we would encourage you to hit pound 988. It is the suicide hotline. Hit our resource page for resources. As always, if there's a resource that you're aware of that's not on the resource page, please hit us up on a message board, man, and let us build our resources. Cody's story is so amazing that when we were doing the show, I was sharing with Redbeard later that I was a terrible host. You know, I started off kind of snarky because I really didn't know the guy. I didn't know his story. I didn't know a lot about him at all. Co-host, which is an acquaintance of Cody's, was not even as familiar with it as I thought he was. So, the beginning of the show was just kind of a normal, yeah, it's cool. I hear this story. And I'm being snarky. But then it turned and dropped the mic. Terrible host.
Oh, it is an emotional roller coaster. I was choked up doing the editing. I mean, it was, you're in for a ride is all I'm going to say.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. Cody is I didn't know him in the day. I didn't know him through any of that. And again, I felt like I was sitting across from, a cover of GQ magazine. He's cut, he's built. He's attractive, he's articulate, he's smart, and just his story is amazing. Well, rather than delay this any further, why don't we just launch into the show? And we're live. Welcome to shoutoutfromthepit.com. I'm the Old Rucker, a.k.a. Bob, and joining me today is Cody and Pat. Give a shout out, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Good evening.
Hey, so... Cody, I don't know a lot about you, but for a placeholder, I put Cody, the mad physical trainer mopeder.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
We're going to have to get into that later. So, we're the purpose of the show is to get the message out to folks that are listening to this that, hey, you're not alone, whatever your challenges are. Cody, you've got an amazing story. I heard a little bit from Pat and just the dialogue that you and I had over dinner. You are a survivor. That is amazing. And I think you've got a great message to share with folks, and I think this is going to be a great show. So I want to thank you personally for taking the time out to do this. I really feel honored to be among a hero, with all the stuff you've done.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to share a little bit of my story and let people know that they're not alone out there.
So... you and Pat work out together. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, we've started to work out together, and Pat let me know that he wants to start getting in the gym and getting a good diet, nutrition going, and so I told him I could help him out.
What do you think about that, Pat?
Factual. We all know that Pat needs to get in the gym and probably start watching what he eats, and it's another thing that Cody brings to the table, and to hear the guy's story and then to see where he was and where he is now. They say there's miracles out there, and he would be a miracle to me, in my eyes. Just what he brings to the table, and just his overall, demeanor, maybe. He's, when I first came to him to start working out, and I think he was kind of shocked, but I think, over the past month, Cody calls me and he's like, "Hey, we're going to the gym, ain't we?" And I'm like, I don't know about that. He's like, you know what I said, he was telling me about some of the other people that that he was training, not really caring, not really, not necessarily in it to see results. And I'm not. I need somebody. I told him I need somebody to push me, and I know at a point Cody will push me, but he's not going to push me away, and that's just like recovery. What I'm getting at, I needed somebody, and this ain't my show by no means, so let me. I needed somebody to push me, but not push me away,
Right.
And I've found that with our tribe. I found that, and then Cody has another story. His path on recovery, which makes it even greater. That not only can we talk, the personal health and everything like that, but we can also incorporate that recovery into it. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? And just bounce stuff off. Hey, we talked the other night about some stuff that I'm going through at work, and since we know the same people and we know the same we know the department we're talking about, he was like, well, maybe you need to look at it this way. He can throw his insight into that, and man, that's awesome that I can be sweating on one hand and listening to a guy, talk recovery in the same setting. Where do you find that at? You don't.
Well, they say there's are there coincidences? We think not.
Right. Yeah, coincidences are God's way to remain anonymous.
Oh, well,
and I never, when I heard that tells me that there is coincidences, and there's somebody, a power greater than me, that's involved in those coincidences.
That's right.
So. How we all came together, just like my story in recovery, how Cody has kind of come into the fold. Man, you can't tell me that there ain't something greater than myself working.
Yeah, Cody, the guys went out on a tribe night, went to dinner, we go to a movie. I of course, hadn't heard of you, and you came out of the theater, and Pat introduced us, and then he, there must be something about you, because generally when your name's mentioned, the first thing spoken, that's entirely up to you. And Pat spoke of your integrity, your character, and I was like, oh man, and I know Pat pretty well. If he's got something to say, it's going to be nice. I don't know, your parents raised you well. I never hear him complain about anything, and so for him to say those very nice things about you made me curious. And so I asked him some more questions, because, that's what I do. I ask questions, as you can tell. I'm always interested in people. And the more that I learn about you over the forthcoming months, and then we ran into you you invited us to go to a recovery, faith-based recovery. And so we went, and we liked what we saw. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is great. And I saw, that you were very engaged. You were, a term we use is immersed in your recovery. And then, of course, learning more about you and your physical training, some of the demises you went to, which we're going to get into in the show, and then hearing how you overcame them. I asked Pat, ask Cody if he wouldn't mind doing a show with me, because I am amazed at what you've been through. I've got to ask you, though, 2 questions. First question I want to ask you is, are you a certified physical trainer?
I am, yeah. Certified.
Really?
Certified physical trainer, certified nutritionist.
Wow. Now, are you single? You got a girlfriend?
I have someone who I'm dating that I've been talking to for a little bit now. So we're filling the water out, seeing how that goes.
So for you ladies out there, I know that's disappointing because I feel like I'm sitting across the cover of GQ magazine over here. So, you're in great shape. You're a handsome young fella. May I ask how old you are?
I'm 34.
You're kidding me. God, you're such a young man.
Young buck.
Wow. And, the cool thing about that is that you give me hope for this country. To see men like you do all the things that you've been through and be the person you are is amazing. So let's get into that. Tell me a little bit about your youth. Where are you from?
So I'm from Houston, born and raised in Houston, Texas. I was born inner city Houston, Beltway 8, Bel Air area, Chinatown area, and love Houston, still love Houston. Houston is home for me. And so my parents divorced when I was 1, so I spent every other weekend at my dad's and full-time with my mom. And so me and my older brother, and grew up in Houston and running the streets of Houston. And my mom worked a lot because she was a single mom, 2 boys, and we were kind of left to our own devices most of the time. So got into, some stuff at a young age.
Describe stuff. You got me curious.
So probably around 12, 13, started drinking, started smoking pot, 12, 13 years old, started hooking up with girls about the same age, 13, 14, because there really wasn't anybody there to tell us what to do, where to go, or how to do it, and so we kind of just did what we wanted to do.
Stereotypical latchkey kids.
Yeah, and we were just running around the town and made friends. Public school kid. I mean, I always did really well in school. Never really had to work real hard in school. I kind of just got by with the bare minimum, and didn't hate school, didn't love school. Mainly just went to school for the social aspect of hanging out with my friends, and class was there, right? My friends were there. I had to go to class as part of school, but I got to hang out with my friends before school, after school. So growing up in Houston was good. You don't know what it's like growing up in a big metropolitan city, and that there's anything different than that until you leave that, and then you're like, wow, there's a lot going on in Houston. I just thought it was this way everywhere. And when I moved to Arkansas, I was like, there's teeny tiny nothing going on here. Yeah. So.
It's funny, we have that in common. I thought I was born in Houston.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a true story. When I joined the Army, I had to get a birth certificate. Found out I was born in we're not going to talk about that on this show. No, I found I was born in California. I was like, hey, I'd never been there,
Yeah.
Okay, enough of that. So, is you and your brother latchkey kids growing up, you smoking pot, playing with the girls, drinking, whatever. So, what was it like? What was your relationship like with your brother?
So my brother, he struggled all throughout youth with a lot of like anger, and since my mom was really never around, my brother would always take it out on me. He'd beat up on me, and it got to a point to where he busted my head open, stitches, staples, broken arms, and I remember one specific time my mom came home from work, probably 10:30, and it was me and my brother there. My brother had thrown a bookcase at me, busted my head open, and then told me, just go to sleep, it's okay, Mom will be home in a little bit. And then my mom got home, and she wakes me up, and my entire pillow and pillowcase is blood all just everywhere, and she's freaking out. And I woke up, and she took me to the emergency room, got 12 staples in my head, and she said, later in life, she said, I came home, your brother was trying to vacuum up the blood out of the carpet, because we're so young. He's 4 years older than me, but I was probably 8. He's 12, and he doesn't know. He's a 12-year-old trying to vacuum up blood to hide it from mom. But so it started at a pretty young age, him beating on me, and so I never was an angry or aggressive kid, but I through that experience learned how to defend myself and learned how to fight and learned how to, stick up for myself pretty early on.
Wow. When I was 12, I broke a candy dish over my brother's head. Yeah, it was a painful experience for me. So we have something in common there. Did you and your brother ever, did you guys ever mesh? Did you ever, become a team?
No. My brother, he struggled with mental health his whole life. He was at a young age in and out of facilities for attempting suicide, and it wasn't something that I had ever struggled with. He got that from my mom. My mom has always struggled with mental health and still has, and still struggles that battle, but it wasn't something that I ever really truly to that extent ever battled. At a young age, he was in and out of facilities for trying to take his own life, and so it was something that I couldn't relate to really, and so we never really meshed. And he was very intellectual. He's very, very, very smart. And kind of a funny story is my mom took him at a younger age and said, I think there's something wrong with him. I need you guys to test him. He may be on the spectrum. He may have something. And they tested him. They said, not only is there nothing wrong with him, he is very, very smart. He is and we'd like to do further testing. And he, they did a series of tests and they determined his IQ is through the roof. And they said, well, we'd like to do the same testing on your younger son. And she said, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. And they went through maybe a half a test with me, and they said, no, he's normal.
So you're in the right crowd right now. You and I and Pat, yeah, okay, we got that in common. We're just normal guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pick up the dog do, hoping that it's dry. Yeah, right. I get it. Okay, that's funny. You have any fond memories of growing up?
Fond memories of growing up were probably going to my grandmother's house, my mom's mom. We would, go back and forth. My mom would have a place, and then we would lose the place because she either lost her job because she was taking too much time off to take care of me and my brother, and then we'd move back in with grandma, and we'd live there for a period of time, and then my mom would, save up the money and get another one-bedroom apartment, and me and my brother would move into this one-bedroom apartment, and we, typically had a bunk bed in one bedroom, and we would take turns. I would sleep on one of the bunk beds, and my mom would sleep on the other, and then my brother would sleep in the living room on the couch or on the floor, and then the next night I would sleep on the couch or on the floor in the living room. Then my brother would sleep in the bunk bed, and my mom would sleep in there as well. So
wow. So grandma, she offered a little bit of stability in this hectic life that you were experiencing?
Yeah, grandma was always there. And it's funny because like my mom's mom was like the grandmother that like cooked and baked and had us over for Thanksgiving and loving and caring and had like the bowl of Werther's Originals on the table. And then my dad's mom was like wealthy and like would just like didn't want to spend any time with us and would say, oh, here's a couple $100, go buy him school clothes and get him out of my face. And so and she always resented the fact that we had such a strong relationship with my mom's mom because she actually took the time to sit down with us and color with us and play games and have movie nights and do just the fun stuff that didn't cost any money, didn't wasn't anything extravagant. And then my dad's mom was always throwing money. Hey, we're going to go do this big expensive. We're going to go to this Nutcracker performance and we're on the front row and then didn't understand and then I wouldn't see her again for, another 8 months, a year. And then she didn't understand why we were so close and loved my mom's mom so much. So.
Wow. Okay. So, anything else in that era that you maybe want to share?
Well, in youth, bounced around a lot. I probably went to 12 or 13 different elementary schools just from moving so much.
Wow.
All within Houston, bounced around, and probably one that we kept going back to was the one right by Grandma's, right? We always end up back at Grandma's, so I probably was in and out of that one elementary school 3 or 4 times, and that was the one that I kind of associate with the elementary school I went to, because all the other ones I was at these other elementary schools for such a short period of time that I knew, okay, we're moving back in with Grandma. I'll go back to A.A. Milne Elementary, and this is kind of, I know the teachers, I know the staff, and
wow.
So
that's just, I am amazed to hear the lack of stability. Again, I keep seeing what I see today. I don't see that Cody of the past. So it's just, it kind of blows my mind that I'm sitting across from you, and I can't even imagine that. That's, brother, that's sad, you know? Okay, so what did you want to be when you were growing up? You know, you hear people say fireman, policeman. What'd you want to be?
So growing up in Houston, one of the things that I really liked was space and NASA. In Houston, we have a problem, and you know, they would take us on field trips to NASA, and you would go and you'd see the Space Center, and and so I always thought, oh, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to work for NASA. And so that was kind of what I clung to. I loved planets and space exploration, and always loved that even as a little kid. And I think that was just because growing up in Houston and going on so many field trips to visit NASA.
Was there a problem because your brother had the intellect and you did? No, I'm sorry, it's bad. So, so what did you do when you got out of high school? Did you finish high school? I mean, graduate or GED, or what'd you do?
Yeah. So I finished high school, graduated high school. So fast forward to high school, my mom decided she wanted to move out of inner city Houston, and we moved out to a little suburb outside of Houston called Cody, Texas. And I went to all of high school at Cody High School, and my mom at that point had since met my stepdad. My mom met my stepdad when I was about 12 or 13. He was kind of in and out, but when my mom met my stepdad, that's when things kind of started to a bit even out. And he's a good guy, and I always respected him because he put up with all my mom's ups and downs, and bipolar, and screaming and yelling and throwing stuff and breaking stuff, and and so he always loved her, and always took it really well, and stuck around, and that was something that even though I saw my dad every other weekend, sometimes one weekend a month, my dad was never he was never sticking around. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so so we moved to Cody, me and my mom, my stepdad, and then my little sister. My mom, my stepdad had a daughter, and so now I've got a little sister, which I was always the youngest one, right? And so I loved having this little sister, and I just loved playing with her and hanging out with her and doing stuff, and got her a little bitty skateboard, and we're skating outside and doing all the things with a little sibling that I just I always wanted to do. And she's 12 years or 13 years younger than me. And
are you guys still close today?
Yeah, we're still close today.
Are your parents, your stepdad and your mom, still together?
They are. Yeah, my mom and my stepdad are still together, going strong, and they live here in Arkansas now, and so they live in Bryant.
That's two more things we have in common. My stepdad is also a great man, and he put up with my mom. I know they're going to hear this show someday. Mom, I love you, but you married a winner. And my sister is also over a decade younger than me. That's cool. And we're tight, very tight. That's cool, man. Yeah. What else we got in common besides we're just two incredibly good-looking men?
Well,
okay, maybe not.
I don't know. I will say, kind of going back to what Pat was saying before, is that I met Pat, and I started working with him, and it was something about just the group there at the job that I was like, this feels right. This is kind of a group of people that I feel like, I oftentimes in my life, and I used to ignore it, but you have this intuition, or this I call it like a gut feeling, right? And it's like I used to ignore it or second guess, and I'm not going with my gut. And more as I've gotten older in the last few years, I listen to that gut a lot more, and I don't question it. And I can only describe that as you know, the Lord working in my life and giving me this gut intuition. If it doesn't feel right, it's typically not right. And before I would ignore that feeling, right, of like, okay, this doesn't feel right, but okay, I'm going to do it anyway. Or, hey, this does, and the opposite, this does feel right, but no, I'm not going to do it, or I'm too scared. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'll be able to do it. And when I met Pat and I met the employees up there, it felt right. And I was like, this feels good. And then just getting to know Pat over the months and talking to him and the similarities that we had, and then him kind of telling me, hey, I got this group of guys that I hang out with, and we, you know, we have fun, and we do stuff together, and we fellowship. And I said, hey, I'd like to meet some of these guys. And he said, well, we're going out to a movie. We're going out to, and somehow our paths crossed, and I met you guys at the movie theater that one night.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was that show where that guy rescues kids. Remember that show?
It was, no, so it was before that. It was called, oh gosh, it was
Bad.
Not Jesus Freaks, not
Jesus
Revolution.
Revolution.
Jesus Revolution.
Yes, Jesus Revolution.
Yeah, what a great movie.
Really good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, so you're 34, 27, your life unravels. Take me between 18 and 27.
18 and 27.
Give me a quick synopsis.
Yeah.
Were you still drinking when you got out of school, drugging, whatever?
Oh yeah. I mean, it never. I could always. That was the thing, is that growing up in it, you think it's normal. You think, you know, I smoked pot with my parents, with my dad, my stepdad, my mom, drank, you know, with my parents, drank with my uncles. You know, it was just normal. We'd all get together and barbecue, and everyone was getting drunk and high, and it was just what I knew, and I didn't think anything of it. And so I graduated high school. My dad passed away from cancer when I was 17, my biological dad. And even though I wasn't real close with my biological dad, it's still my dad, right? And so
Sure.
my mom had told me, she said, you know, when you graduate high school, my stepdad's from California, and she said, when you graduate high school, you know, we're moving to California. We didn't want to pull you out of high school to move you to California, but we're going to wait until you graduate, and we're going to go and take care of his parents. His parents aren't doing well.
Yeah.
And so she said, you can come with us. You can, you know, you're more than welcome to come with us. You're more than welcome to move, and we move into a house. And so at that point, I had a decision to make, and I just wasn't ready to leave Houston. I wasn't ready to leave what I knew. I just graduated high school. I wasn't ready to leave the town that I knew and the place that I knew. And so I moved in with my grandmother, and lived with her for about a year. And in high school, I did photography, videography, photo editing, video editing. Loved it, always loved it.
All the stuff you would do as an astronaut.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, taking pictures of the moon. And so I got a job at a photo finishing studio called Wolf Ritz Camera, and I lived with my grandmother. And then my grandmother passed away, and so my next door neighbor throughout high school, dear friend of mine, still very close to him, he reached out to me. Just, you know, you say God works in mysterious ways, but does he? You know, he reached out to me right about a week after my grandmother passed away, and I was going to have to make a decision of what I was going to do, where I was going to go. And he said, hey, I'm moving to Austin, and I need a roommate. You want to move to Austin? And
Damn right.
We'll go up there. yeah, we'll go up there, and we literally we went up there, and he said, we got to look for jobs. We don't have jobs. We had a little bit of money saved up, and, you know, we got to look for jobs. And I said, okay. We go up there, and I find out that they have a Ritz Wolf camera in Austin. So we go to it, and I said, hey, I work at this camera shop in Houston, and do y'all have any positions available here? I'd like to transfer. And they said, well, actually, we do have a position available that we're looking for right now, but it's not that easy. You got to talk to corporate. They got to approve a transfer. They got to do all the things to do it officially and get you here, moved here and working here. And so that ended up working out, and they transferred me. I stayed with the same company and did photography, videography in Austin, and I did that for a little while, and I got in school, and I was always really good at math and loved math and science, and so I knew, okay, math is easy for me. What can I do that is a career that I'll probably enjoy, or at the very least, it won't be difficult for me. I can do it pretty easily. And so a friend of mine said, "You ever think about finance or accounting?" And I said, "Well,
wow, what a huge difference."
Yeah. And I said, "Well, no, not really, And so I got in school, finance and accounting, and I'm working at this photo finishing studio part-time. And then I'm getting photography gigs, and I'm doing, weddings. I'm doing events for like corporate events, like they have a Christmas party and they want someone to come out and be the photographer for the Christmas party. And I'm getting that stuff part-time, and then I'm in school for accounting and finance. And so then, I graduate school, and now I got to get a big boy job. I'm in accounting and finance now. And so I went and applied at a bank to be a loan underwriter, which is more of the banking finance side of it. And to my surprise, I got the job. And so that's
got a big boy job.
Got a big boy job.
Oh,
now.
we got to buy some ties.
Yeah, and so absolutely. And they're like, "Oh, you have to wear a button down and a tie every day." And I said, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah, it's required every day." I said, "Oh Lord, this is going to be a little bit of a change for me."
J.C. Penney's or Dillard's? I don't know. Where do you go?
Yeah, right. I mean, at the time I went to Goodwill. And I just
Right on.
Right on. At the time I went to Goodwill, I was like, I could probably find something that has minimal stains on it.
Yep.
A tie that may pass for it looks half decent, and I've got a tie, I've got a button down. That's what you said I needed to have. And as time, I'll go to Walmart and get a pair of, at the time, $16 dress looking shoes,
We have so much in common. This is amazing. Well, not the finance part.
So
I math and I parted ways many moons ago. Yeah. Were you here in Arkansas doing this? Was this still in Austin?
So this is in Austin. Yeah. So I was working for a bank called the International Bank of Commerce in Austin, Texas. And within that time, I met a girl who was just a spitfire. I mean, I go to a Cinco de Mayo party, and I'm with my roommate, who was my next door neighbor, running buddy all throughout high school. And he said he's working at a place, and he said, "Hey, one of my coworkers, they're having a big Cinco de Mayo party. We all need to go." I said, "Okay, we'll go." And we're going. And of course, I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm drunk. I had been drinking for 2-3 hours, and I'm smoking weed and rolling up weed, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I look over, and I see this like 3-4 group of girls, and they're laughing, they're looking over, and they're giggling. And then they turn away, and they look over, and they're laughing, and I see one girl. I'm like, "Oh, she's pretty cute," but I'm waiting. I'm like, I'm not getting up to go over there and talk to her. I'm going to sit here and finish rolling this.
Somebody
joint.
pass the M&Ms.
Yeah, exactly. And so she comes up to me, and she says, "Hey, my name. Here's my name." And I said, "Oh, okay, nice to meet you." And she grabs my face with both hands, one on each cheek, and just pulls me in and kisses me.
Uh-oh.
And
it's on.
And I'm like, "What in the world?" And so I always, and I'm still like this to this day, I never want to come across as like the weird, creepy guy trying to hit on you. So I typically don't make the first move ever, and still that way, because I don't want it to ever come across as like, "Oh, this weird, creepy guy's hitting on me," whatever. And so
we have that in common.
So,
in fact, my wife asked me to marry her.
Yeah. And so she definitely took charge and took the bull by the horns with that one. And she said, "Well, here, let me give you my number." And I said, "Okay." So she puts her number in my phone, and I said, "Well, I've got her number. She doesn't have my number. I could call her if I don't call. I don't ever call her. I don't ever text her or anything." And then I get a call one day, and it's her name. It pulls up, and she goes, "So you just weren't ever going to call me, huh?" I said, "Oh."
Wow.
She said, "Well, when I put my number in your phone, I called myself so I would have your number." And
Oh.
so she said, so you just weren't ever going to call or text me and ask me out on a date, huh? And I said, yeah, no, I just hadn't gotten around to it, you know. And
Unbelievable.
I said,
We do not have that in common.
yeah. And I said, yeah, you want to go on a date? And she said, yeah. And then so we started dating, and that's how I met my soon-to-be wife at that
That's
point.
amazing.
Didn't know it at the time, you know. But
That's amazing. Wow. And to be fair, I did ask my wife to marry me. I'm not as patient as you are, man. I move like a wheat field in fire. So did you guys move from? You got married and moved here?
so we got married. So I think something worth noting is that she's born and raised in Little Rock.
Oh, really?
Private Christian school, parents together 40, 50 years marriage, you know, the white picket fence, and she moved out of the state, and she's out of her parents' house, out of the state, going to college in a different state in Austin.
And planting lips on a pothead.
And she's sowing her oats.
Wow.
Right. And she meets me, who had a completely different upbringing.
Wow.
And so she, you know, and it's interesting because so we start dating, and we pretty quickly move in together, and it just so happened my lease was up at my apartment, her lease was up. We ended up moving in together, and which her parents hated. They found out we're living together out of wedlock, and that was, you know, not the daughter they raised, and that's not the and we're so surprised that you would do it. And so it, from their perspective, seemed that I was this bad influence, this kid who smoked pot and had tattoos and listened to rock and roll music and skateboarded, but then they were like, but he does accounting. And so it's like,
and he wears a tie.
And he wears a tie. So I'm like at work, and I'm this, you know, I'm this professional at work, and then I get out of work and I go and hang out and skateboard and smoke pot, and so we get married, and she said, well, okay, well, I want to move back to Little Rock. And I said, well, I want to move back to Houston. And she said, well, we're kind of at a stalemate here. And I said, okay. So after discussing it, we said, okay, this is going to work. I said, we can move to Little Rock for 2 years. If I'm absolutely miserable and I hate it, we move to Houston. If you're absolutely miserable and you hate it, we figure it out, right? But we're going to give it 2 years.
What a good guy.
And she said, okay, that sounds good, but let's move to Houston first for 2 years. And now looking back, she was very smart. She knew what she was doing. She knew, we'll go to Houston for 2 years. I'll tell them I'm miserable. We'll move to Little Rock, and we'll stay there. And we'll stay there, right?
Smart girl.
She's a spitfire, and she's got what do you call that? Savvy.
Yeah, and that's what happened. We moved to Houston. We lived there for exactly 2 years, and she said, "Okay, we've been here 2 years now." And I said, "Oh, okay." And we're married. We have our first son at that point, and we have a house in Houston. And I'm working at a credit union now at that point in Houston as a loan underwriter. And
so wait, you guys have bought a house by now?
well, we were renting.
Okay.
We were renting a home. She was not going to agree to buy a house, knowing that after 2 years we were going to be leaving. But in that time, in those 2 years, I'm very close to my stepbrother, my stepdad's son, and so when my stepdad moved in to the house and my stepbrother came on the scene, my stepbrother was the baby of his family group, and he never had a little brother, and so he kind of took me under his wing and did a lot of cool older brother stuff, like took me to ball games and really, really mentored to me and was like, hey, are you making good decisions with, what you're doing? Are you, what do you got going on? Kept an eye on me, didn't let me do what I was doing, but he'd say, hey, you think that's very smart what you're doing, and so my stepbrother lived in Houston, in Cody. We moved back to Cody. And so in that time, my stepbrother and I just grew even closer. And, but then in that, and my wife and his wife became best friends. I mean, so then that's what it was. It was all of us hanging out, the kids hanging out, my nieces and nephews, and now not my son, me and Katie's first son. And,
we're having a good life right now.
so it's great. And I'm, and I'm drinking a bit on the weekends.
Sure.
I wasn't, I had calmed down a lot after college. wasn't, I'd smoke a little bit of pot here and there, maybe once or twice a month, and drink a little bit, never an issue, right?
Were you guys going to church at all? She being raised in the church at all?
So when we moved to Katy, the first thing so to clarify, Katy, Texas is where we moved. My late wife's name is also Katy. And so when we moved to Katy, she immediately said, like, hey, if I'm going to survive here 2 years, I need to get plugged in with a church family. And she said, this is what I'm to expect out of a husband. You're to lead our house. You're going to lead our house spiritually. You're going to be the man of the house. And this is what I expect out of you. And she lined me out real quick. And I told her, oh, this is my upbringing. And she said, that's not normal.
I'm sorry. At this point, had you had exposure to faith at all?
Very little with Grandma, wow. Right? Grandma would take us Creaster, right? Christmas, Easter.
Oh, I had heard that. That's good.
We were Creaster believers, right? So we go with Grandma Christmas, Easter, and that was it. That's all I knew.
So now you got this wife that's saying, I got to get plugged in, and this is what you're going to be, pal. You're going to be the spiritual leader of our house.
Yeah.
Oh, rock your world.
Yeah, so she very quickly got into a church there in Katy, and God works, miracles, because it had ended up being the church that a good friend of mine throughout high school, his dad was the pastor of. And she very quickly, and so I knew his dad, I knew him, I knew a lot of the people in the church already. And they're like, Cody's coming to church,
Are there any such thing as coincidences?
Not at all.
We think not.
Right.
Wow.
Right. So, and then very quickly she said, okay, we're getting into a small group. I've signed us both up for a young adults, young married adults small group with other young married couples. And we're going to meet once a week, and we're going to fellowship. We're going to have a little potluck and get together at someone's house every single week. And
now, how's this working out for you?
I liked it because I was curious, because I didn't know much about Christianity or God. Like I even at that time, I was very new, and there was a bit of embarrassment there, because she was so well versed in Scripture, right. And she was so strong in her faith and faith-filled, and she could spit off, boom, every verse, every scripture, every book, where it was, what it was. Every night she would sit and lay in bed, and she'd read the Bible.
So if I'm tracking right, we got a young lady that raised in a Christian home in Arkansas, takes off to Texas, and sows her oats, gets married to a man that we can tell is a pretty decent guy. But somewhere along the line, she's like, hey, you know what? I was raised, in the Word. I need to go back to the Word. And that's a defining point for you guys, because a lot of marriages break up over that. You, on the other hand, are like, yeah, this is working for me.
Yeah.
And so did you, what did they say, find the Lord at that time? Did you become a Christian? What'd you do?
So at that time, I kind of was, fake it till you make it kind of thing, but I was a fan. I didn't have a relationship with the Lord at that point, but I liked it. I knew, and it goes back to that gut feeling. I was like, this feels right, so I'm going to continue to do it. Ooh. I like the way this feels.
It's a safe place to be, too.
It's a safe place to be. I enjoy it. These people are
wholesome, genuine.
Well, for the group that we fell in with were very much genuine, and I always saw people as that they went to church and they're hypocrites, right? And they're holier than thou. And, we've got our life together, and all of you heathens out there, you need to find the Lord, Right. And Katie wasn't like that. Katie was very much like, hey, like, we're all, like, she loved people, just genuinely loved people. And she didn't care what you look like, or what race or color or nationality, or what language you spoke, or what disability note. She did not care.
And so you're in love with this woman.
Right.
How in the world did you guys end up in Little Rock then?
So then, 2 years, she said, okay, 2 years is up. That was our deal, right? Time to go. So.
And you had one child at that time.
One child at that time. And so she said, time to go. And I said, all right, I'm a man of my word, and she said, I've really kind of made some connections here with your sister-in-law and with our church family here, and met some really great people, but I miss my family. And my parents, they want to be around their grandson, and my brothers and my sister and my aunts and uncles, everyone's in Little Rock. And my mom was in California with my stepdad, and my dad had since passed away, and my grandma had since passed away. And I wasn't close to my brother. He was the only one in Houston. I wasn't close to him. And so I said, yeah, let's move to Little Rock.
Wow. So you guys up and come over here, wife, child, all your ties and button-down shirts, and you got a job pretty much doing finances again, or?
Yeah, so I told her,
Underwriting?
I said, yeah, we'll move to Little Rock, but I'm not just gonna up and move to Little Rock. So I drove down every other weekend as I scheduled interviews. So I would drive 8 hours on a Sunday. I'd have an interview on a Monday. I'd interview and I'd take that Monday off of work. And my job in Houston was very understanding. They knew I was moving. I told them, hey, I'm moving, you know. And so I'd come down, I'd interview, and I got a job at a credit union in Little Rock as at that time as a junior loan underwriter. So I was underneath doing all the grunt work for the underwriters.
Sure, okay.
Which I was used to being an underwriter, and now I'm doing all the grunt work for the underwriters. But it was a job, and it wasn't horrible pay, and I knew that we could survive on it. And we got a tiny little 2-bedroom apartment, and we moved here, and I had a job, and we had a discussion. She said, I would like to stay home and enjoy these years with our kids, And
How many did you have at the time? Or
so she got pregnant, and when we moved here, and we had our second son.
Okay.
So she said, and I said, I'm going to support you if you want to get a job and you want a career, or you want a job. I'm more than willing to support that. I said, but if you want to stay home with the kids, then I support that as well. And I support that a little bit more because as a new father, you're like, you hear these stories about daycares and you don't know people with your kids. And so I knew that she was going to take care of them. And she said, these formative years when they're young and they're kids, I want to have that time with them. And I said, yeah, I support that. So she stayed home and I worked full time. And
number 1 was already here. Number 2 pops out. Number 3 pops out. Life is great. She's a stay-at-home mom. Things are wonderful. Man, it'll get no better than this. It's a great story. When did it turn?
Yeah, so we lived in that apartment for 1 year. We bought a house in Bryant, and so we're now living in this house in Bryant.
Wow.
And I didn't want the house. I liked living in Little Rock. It was small. I felt like I went 100 years back in time, moving from Houston to Little Rock, and so she said, this house has got character. We found 2 houses. One house that
means it's small.
Yeah. We have 2 houses. One I really liked, new house, new fixtures, new appliances, really liked it. But she had this, desire. She found this other house that was out in Bryant that was not technically in city limits. And so we got approved for a rural development loan. And we got approved for the house, and I said, okay, well, if this is what you want, then we'll get this house. But the caveat is, we need to compromise here. I want a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I said, so
that's right.
I said, so we get the house you want. This house, the deal is I get the motorcycle.
Harley Davidson, right?
Well, at the time, I was wanting to get a Kawasaki. And so
she said, my first bike.
She said, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can get a motorcycle. We get moved into the house. Things are great. Living in the house, loving it. The kids are starting elementary school. And I said, okay, so I've been looking at bikes. She said, you're not getting a motorcycle. I said, what? No, that was the whole plan, was we bought the house you wanted way out here in the sticks in Bryant. And I got a motorcycle, and she said, you've lost your mind. You've got 3 kids, and you're not getting a motorcycle. And I just said, oh, she got me again.
Funny.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So
I went from a KZ to a Honda to a Harley Davidson. Yep. And did you ever get your motorcycle?
So I did. I got a KZ Custom 650. It was a 78. Fully restored from my mom's little brother who had 4 or 5 bikes, you know, and I reached out to him and I said, hey,
hook a brother
I
up.
said, hey, you got any of those bikes you wanting to sell? And he said, yeah, I got this KZ Custom. It's a 650. I've bobbed it out. It's a kickstart. He installed an electric start on it. But he had chopped the ducktail off the back and pulled the fenders off and made it, you know, Mad Max style.
Oh yeah,
and
it's a 78. You said, right?
Yeah,
mine was a
78.
77, so I can see that bike.
Yeah, and it was like a powder blue, like a light baby bluish grayish color.
That's cute.
And yeah, and I love it. I thought I was, you know. But so we're living there and things are good, and so I got a job offer at a bigger boy job, and I was at the credit union. I was a junior loan underwriter, and I'm thinking, oh man, I could do these other guys' jobs for them in circles around them, and I'm doing all the grunt work, and it's a small company, and I wasn't gonna move up, and so I started applying for other jobs, and I applied for a job, an accounting position. Up to this point, I was just doing finance, you know, banking and finance. So I said, well, I've got an accounting and finance degree. I could do accounting as well. And so I applied for this job at a company as a distribution company, and I did some research on it. I saw the job online. I saw the salary, the starting salary, and I was like, okay, this could be good. And I went and applied for that and got that job. And so now I'm working for a Fortune 500 company.
Wow.
In the global accounts division, managing $12 to $15 million in my portfolio for this company, and I'm making a lot more money. And you know, we got a second car, and first car is paid off, and now we got wife a brand new minivan, and she loves it.
A grocery getter.
Yeah.
We got a KZ and a grocery getter, and you're still living in the house with character.
Yeah, still living in the character house. So I'm working at this job, and I got growing up with not much, I associated like happiness with like things, right? Like I want a nice house, I want a nice car, I want nice clothes, because I never had any of that. Katie grew up with all of that. She grew up with the big house and the pool in the backyard, and so she didn't care about any of that. She wore clothes until they fell off her. She went to Goodwill and bought used clothes. She didn't care about what she wore, what she drove, or what she lived in, and I was the opposite. I wanted all the nice, shiny things. I never had that. And so at this point, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back and finish up.
I think somebody needs a latrine. All right, we'll be back. All right, welcome back to shoutoutfromthepit.com. This is the Old Rucker, a.k.a. Bob. My guest today is Cody with his battle buddy, training buddy, Pat. And we're catching Cody's experience, strength, and hope. What we've heard so far is that he had a challenged youth, met a wonderful woman, went from being I wouldn't really think of you as a thug, but I would say you were wayward, and but you became a jacket and tie type of guy, got a good job, everything's going cool. You leave Texas, you come to Arkansas, you get a house with character, you got a couple of kids, the third one comes along, you got a great job, and things started getting silly.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. So I'm working at the good job. I got immersed in my work, and I call my wife at 4 p.m. and it's Friday, and I say, hey, I'm going to stay 1 extra hour. I was supposed to get off at 4 today. I got some reports and stuff that I need to get done before the weekend. So I'm going to stay until 5. I'll call you when I leave. You need milk or eggs or you need anything for the house? No, we're good. Just come home. Okay, no problem. Talk to her at 4 o'clock. I get off at 5. I call her. She doesn't answer. I got this just feeling, and I said, okay, I'm going to call her again. We had this rule, if she calls me twice back to back, I stop everything I'm doing. I answer the phone. Same thing for me. So I call her again immediately, and she doesn't answer, and that doesn't help the feeling. And so I start to rush home. I get home from work. It's about 5:15, and the front door is open. Front door is wide open. Chickens running around, dogs running around. I hop out of the car and run in the house, and the back doors were open. We had French doors, and my oldest son runs in. He says, Dad, what do you do when somebody faints? I said, buddy, what are you talking about? What's going on? And he said, Mom fainted in the backyard. So I proceeded to walk in the backyard, and Katie was laying there, not breathing. So I immediately ran back to the car, grabbed my phone, called 911, threw it on speaker, threw it in the grass, and started CPR. She was already gone at that point. And so I still continued CPR, and I remember very vividly still being on phone with 911 and hearing sirens in the distance. And so they must have been very close. And they said, well, where are you at? And I gave my address, and they were there almost immediately. And I told them I'm in the backyard. And so the first officer comes on scene. He kicks open the gate, breaks the gate, comes in the backyard, and I'm still doing CPR. And he rips me away from her body, and I'm fighting him, and I'm trying to get back to her. And he rips me away. And then shortly after, another officer runs in. The first officer pulls me to the side of the house and through the gate. And everything flooded in. Reality hit me, and I just vomited everywhere on the side of the house. And it was reality, realizing that Katie wasn't breathing. She wasn't. I couldn't resuscitate her. And so he pulls me away, and then I'm like, I need to see my wife. And the other two officers are like, get him in handcuffs, get him in handcuffs. And the first officer that was on the scene, he said, no, I'll take care of him. You guys go take care of the kids in the backyard. Go take care of something else. I'll take care of him. And they said, get him in handcuffs. And he pulled me out to the squad car, and he said, I got to put you in handcuffs. And I said, well, why are you going to put me in handcuffs? And he said, I got to put you in handcuffs. We got to figure out what's going on in the scene. And so he put me in handcuffs, put me in the back of the cop car.
Oh, my Lord.
And he turns on the air, and he said, I'm going to turn on the air full blast. I know it's hot. It was June 2nd. It was warm outside. And he said, here, I'm going to get you some water. And went to another squad car, came back with a bottle of water. And so I'm sitting in the back of the cop car, and I look over and I see the cops, and all the neighbors are outside, and there's an ambulance at this point, and so I see them over there talking to the kids, and the cops are, leaned over talking to the boys, and then I'm in the back of the cop car, and they come over and they let me out of the back of the cop car, and they take the handcuffs off of me, and then I'm outside the car at this point, and I hear them talking to my boys saying, did Daddy ever hit Mommy? Does Daddy hurt Mommy? Does he scream at Mommy? Did he ever hurt her? No. Was Daddy home when Mommy fell down? Did Mommy fall? No, Daddy was at work. Mommy fell in the backyard. She fainted. Are you sure Daddy wasn't here? No, Daddy wasn't here. He came home, and so then they wheel her out on the stretcher and put her in the back of the ambulance, and the cop said, we don't know what the situation is yet, and I'm going to give you your phone. Do you have someone you can call? And so my mom's still in California. I call my sister-in-law, and she shows up, and she's hysterical. And so she calls all the family, and he said, I gotta put you back in the back of the cop car. And I said, I'm going to go with my wife in the ambulance. I'm going to go with my wife. And he's like, no, I gotta escort you. And so he puts me back in the cop car, and we follow behind the ambulance, and we go to the hospital, and they put us in this little private room, and my in-laws are there now, and they put us in this little private room to the side, and it's just quiet, and you could tell that it just wasn't a room you wanted to be in, right? But they wouldn't tell us. We say, is she alive? What's going on? And they said, we can't tell you any information. We're sitting in there, and the cop's still sitting there with me, and the same cop that was the first one on the scene. And so then two guys come out from a door that's like an interior door coming from the hospital into the little room we're in, not from the waiting room outside the way we came in. And they got suits on. It's like something out of a TV show, and they have their little flip book, and they say, are you aware your wife is pregnant? And I said, yeah, she's my wife. Yeah, I know she's 6 months pregnant. So are you aware that your wife was on this medication? I said, yeah, I'm aware of that. It's my wife. Again, yes, I know everything about my wife. What else, I'm getting frustrated. And he said, okay, we don't have any more questions for you at this time. And they walked out of the little room back into the hospital. And then about 15 minutes later, doctor came out and said, she's gone. And if you'd like to go back and say your piece and say goodbye to her, you can. So that's what that was the turning point in my life at that point.
Cody, I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way. I'm sad and I'm angry at the same time. You come home, your best friend has passed, and you're already accused of foul play, and you're trying to be with your wife. You're handcuffed and put into a squad car, and then on top of that, your sister-in-law comes hysterical. Of course, I could see that. It's her sister, and you've got nobody. You're all alone. You're all alone, and right now you're the accused. And then on top of that, you can't even ride with your wife. You get to the hospital, 2 suits come in, and the way you explained it and the way I see it, like you said, out of a movie, it's almost like there's no love there. It's just the facts, man, just the facts. That's horrible. Okay, so your wife has passed. Your life, as you knew it, is about to change drastically. I was thinking in the beginning of the show, as I mentioned, we had dinner together before we started this recording. I always thought, hey, I'm one of the DWI guys. I got a DWI. And then Pat tells me that he's, I got a few more than you. I got 4. You want to tell us where your life went after this happened?
Yeah, so it took a pretty dark turn. So not immediately though. So I was in denial for so long, for about a year, and I was on autopilot. I was just in shock and denial. So I kept my job. I was just on autopilot, doing all the things that I
and
knew,
raising 3 boys.
And now my mother-in-law has now stepped in a lot to help, and my mom finds out, and she uproots her whole life in California, sells her house, and she moves here to Arkansas
With stepdad
and sister.
Wow.
And then they move here. And for the first year I kept it together. And then when reality sunk in, and I would, wake up at night and I would look to the side and Katie wasn't there, and she wasn't going to be there. And up until that point, I thought, this is all a bad dream. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. My wife's going to be there. This isn't my life. This isn't happening to me. At that point, I was very angry with God. I stopped going to church and started drinking a lot. And it really kind of turned, I started drinking a bit, right? And it really kind of turned bad when I just went to my primary care physician and for an annual physical, and I was still kind of just in autopilot. I was like, I got a doctor's appointment. I got to go to it. And he came in, he said, what's going on with you? And I said, well, my wife just died. And he said, what's just died? And I said, about 8 months ago. And he said, we got to get you on an antidepressant. We got to get you on an anti-anxiety. We got to get you on da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, okay, doc, and so they get me on all these medications. And
Meanwhile, you're drinking.
Meanwhile, I'm drinking, and the medications numbed me, and then I'm drinking on top of the medications.
Exasperating the medications, the feelings, yeah.
Yep. So then I start abusing the medications, and then abusing the alcohol, and it goes downhill very quickly. And so the police force in the town that I'm living in, they know what I'm going through. They know they are there on the scene. It's a small town. A girl dies. She's 26 years old. She's pregnant. And so they kind of were keeping a watch, keeping a bit of a watch on me. And so I got pulled over one time, and I had been drinking, and I get a DWI, I get arrested, and I get OR'd out the next day. I'm out the next day, and I'm like,
OR for our audience is
own recognizance, so that you don't pay anything to get out of jail. You're released on your own recognizance. So you're released with no money. No, you don't have to pay anything to get out. They just let you out. You sign and to say, I will show up to court on this court date, and they let you out. So very quickly after that, I got another DWI.
When you say very quickly, 72 hours? A week?
About 2 weeks.
Okay.
About 2 weeks, I get another DWI, I get arrested. That DWI, I was probably on about 5 or 6 Xanax, and I'd only drinking like 2 beers, maybe like 2 or 3 hours prior, so I blew like a .03. But he's like, you're under the influence. You blew a .03. You're under the influence. I get arrested. And so I go to jail. They let me out OR again the next day. So I hadn't even gone to court for the first one. Reality hadn't set in. I got a second one now. So then my mom's like, "Yeah, this is really out of, you got 2 DWIs in the last month. You really got to do something." So I said, "Yeah, I know." And so I stopped drinking for a couple weeks. I'm still taking the Xanax now as prescribed, and that lasted about 2 weeks. And then then I lose my job because I've slacking off at work, reports and things that used to take me 10 minutes to do. I'm on 6, 8, 10 Xanax, and it's taken me 3 hours to do a report that it used to take me 10 minutes to do.
You've checked out.
I'm checked out. I'm just numbing the pain. And about a month after that, I get a third DWI. So
Had you gone to court for either of the first 2?
I had not.
So you got 3 WIs and hadn't gone to court yet.
Yeah, hadn't gone to court for the first one yet. And so I get a third DWI. This time they don't let me out so easily. So they say, "Okay, well, you've got, I think it was a $5,000 bond. You pay $500 and you get out." So I make a phone call to my mom and I say, "Hey, this is my stuff. Go get $500 out of my bank account. Come get me out."
I can't even imagine what your family's thinking right now.
And so she does.
Oh.
So she gets me out. And this whole time, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are like, "Hey, let us take the boys for a little while. You need to get your life put back together, and let us take the boys for a little while." And in my head, I was like, these boys are the only thing I have left. And they didn't. And these DWIs occurred when the boys were either at my mom's for the weekend or at my mother-in-law's for the weekend. So all throughout the week, I'm keeping it together, and then on the weekend, I just let loose. And throughout the week, I say I was keeping it together. Once they were in bed and they were asleep, 9:30, that's when I'm going and getting a double whiskey and shooting 4, 5, 6 shots of whiskey, then sipping on a shot of whiskey, and then
numb. I want to be numb.
Just numb, drinking myself to sleep every night, but still being able to get up next morning, get the kids to school, get to work, and then on the weekends I just completely let loose when they weren't around. And so I was so hesitant, and they're like, "Just let us help you. Let us do something. Let us help you. We'll help you. We'll whatever you need." And no, I don't need your help. I'm fine. I can raise my own kids. These are my kids. I don't need your help to raise my kids. And
you've gone through a major trauma. You haven't been able to grieve over it. Now you got a doc putting you on meds. Nobody's really thinking about the fact that you're grieving and you're drinking. Man, dude, you're hitting bottom.
Yeah.
Not yet though, huh?
Not yet. So that's 3. I get out, at this point I had gotten another job. I got fired from the other job. I got another job at a hotel as the auditor of the books for this hotel, right? So, and before any of that's on my record, so that none of that's, I'm not found guilty for any of that. None of it's on my record. I can still get a job in accounting and finance, and I get a job, and I'm holding that together, kinda going to work and doing that, and I get a 4th DWI, and four is a felony. So on 4, they say, "Oh, now you're not in the orange suit that you're used to coming in and sitting in. Now you're in stripes, and this is a felony charge." And
had you gone to court for the first one yet?
I had.
Okay.
I had gone to court and pled not guilty and said I wasn't guilty. And they said, "Okay, you really want to take this to the next step?" And I said, "Yeah, I wasn't guilty." They said, "You blew. You blew the, and so I was still in denial. No, I wasn't guilty. And so,
Cody, were you representing yourself during this?
So they had issued me a public pretender, public defender, right?
A Freudian there. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So, and the public pretender is saying, "No, you need to. They're only giving you 10 days in jail and a year with a breathalyzer in your vehicle, and you take the 10 days in jail and the $5,000 fine and the year with the breathalyzer and move on." And I was thinking in the back of my head, this guy clearly doesn't even know I'm in so deep. I've got multiple of these. When this compounds, he's representing me, and he's clearly doesn't know or realize that I had these other DWIs hanging out there.
Gosh.
Right. So
are we done yet?
We're not done. So
No.
so I lose the second job. And
Oh, God.
so then
This is sad, but it's not funny. I'm like, I can't even believe this. You can't even make this story up.
No, it's looking back on it, it's like it's almost comical because I'm like, well, who was I kidding?
Wow.
Like, what in the world, And so I get another job and still don't have anything on my record. So I work for Ally Financial, and I'm working in the finance department at this other job now, still in finance. And at that point, my mother and father-in-law, they say, hey, we're going to take the kids for the weekend. I said, okay. Well, they didn't bring the kids back.
Oh, boy.
And I am calling them, texting them, where are you guys? Is there? And in the back of my head, I'm thinking they got in a car accident.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm thinking they're on the side of the road somewhere, and I can't get a hold of them.
I mean, you're already not in your right mind.
I don't know. I don't know where they're at. I'm calling everybody. Nobody's answering because they all knew that this was the plan, right? Was to take the kids for the weekend, not bring them back. No one's answering. I'm freaking out. And so then I can't get a hold of anybody. I'm freaking out. The next day is Monday. I drink myself to sleep again. Next day wakes up. It's Monday. I go to work. I come home and I'm sitting there. I'm still trying to call around texting. Then someone knocks on the door, and this guy serves me papers. And he says, here's some papers for you. And I look at them, and it's an emergency situation where the judge has granted them temporary guardianship.
Your birth mother and your stepfather.
No, my mother-in-law and father-in-law.
Your mother-in-law. And oh, my goodness.
And they had gotten an attorney, and they got granted temporary guardianship, immediately.
I mean, it's nothing personal. They're looking out for the kids.
Right.
But you're not seeing it that way.
I'm not seeing it that way. And so I'm freaking out, and I'm like, what do I do? I'm just sitting in this house by myself where I'm used to kids running around, and it's just quiet, and there's nothing going on. So what do? I say, well, I'm going to fight them. They have no right to take my kids. I go and get an attorney. I get this attorney, and this attorney says, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan of action, da-da-da-da. I said, okay. And this time, Child Protective Services comes to my house, and they're wanting to look around the house, and they're wanting to evaluate the home and all the stress. And I had stopped all but, taking the medication. Okay, I've got this attorney. This is my only chance. I got to stop drinking. I got to stop doing this. I'm going to take these, pills as prescribed. And then I don't know what it was about the Child Protective Services coming in. It tipped me over the point, and I got drunk, and then I got hungry, and I wanted to go get some Chinese food. So I go out to get some Chinese food, and I get in the drive-thru, and I'm belligerent, and I'm trying to order Chinese food. And little did I know, the Chinese restaurant had called the cops and said, we got this guy screaming in our drive-thru. We can't understand him. He's behind the wheel. So they tell the car in front of me to not pull off out of the drive-thru until the cops can get there.
Oh, wow.
And the cops tell me all this. And so then I'm in this drive-thru, car behind me, car in front of me. Car in front of me pulls up, and I pull up to the window, and then two cops pull in and block me in. And he said, Cody, you're going to the cop got out. Cody, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to kill somebody else if you keep getting behind the wheel drunk. We know what you're going through. We know you lost your wife. Something's got to give. And you've got to do something. We're arresting you. And
this is number 5.
This is number 5.
You've already got a felony DWI.
This is felony number 2 DWI.
Wow.
So,
sorry, Pat. You took your trophy.
So, and so in that time, that was, that Monday, I had gotten out Friday, and then that Monday, I had court, and I got out. So that was a Friday. I got arrested. I got out, and then I had court Monday for a previous DW. I couldn't even keep them all straight at this point. I don't know if it was the second or the third or what this court day was for. It's for one of them. And so I show up to court, and Oh, but so they tell me on 5, they said, okay, $50,000.
My
And
goodness.
they said, so it's 5,000 to get out. I said, okay. I call my mom. My mom goes and gets the money out of my account, and she pays the 5,000. I get out. And so then Monday I have court, and I'm in court, and they said, bond revocation, we're taking you into custody. And that's where they kept me. And I stayed in county for 6 months.
What day was that?
That was May 2nd.
And today happens to be May 2nd.
3 years ago today.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 years ago today. God bless you, Cody. You go immediately to where?
So I go to Saline County, and they said, well, we got court for you in the morning. And this was like during the COVID thing, so they're doing video court. So they take you in this little room, and you're on a computer, and the judge is on the other side of the computer. And they said, okay, we're going to give you 6 to 10 years, all of your DWIs, all 5 of them. We're going to we're not going to charge you separately for each one. You've got 5. We're going to lump them all together. We're going to give you 6 to 10 years, Arkansas Department of Corrections.
My goodness.
And a lifetime revocation of your driver's license. You'll never drive again, and you're doing 6 to 10 years in prison.
Wow. At that point, I mean, pause for effect, but where is your head right now when this is being said to you?
I'm thinking, there's no way this is real. I'm not going to prison for 6 to 10 years. There's no way. And I said, no, I'm not taking that. I'm not. And they said, this is our plea deal. This is a deal. And we're combining all of your DWIs. This is a plea deal. You have 2 felony DWIs, 3 misdemeanor DWIs. This is a deal, 6 to 10 years. You're not taking it. I said, no. And they didn't even argue. They said, all right, we're done. Take him back to his cell.
So then what?
So then I sit for 2 months in county, and one day the guard comes up and says, hey, you got court tomorrow morning. We're going to come in and get you. Come in and get me, and they say, okay, 4 to 6 years.
Okay.
I said, okay, that sounds a little bit better. And they said, 2 years suspended driver's license, lifetime interlock, lifetime go and blow in your car.
Well, this is a better deal than the previous one.
Better deal. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking, and this is giving me 2 months. I'm not drinking. I'm not doing anything. And I'm going through the struggles of not drinking. And I had a moment where I just thought to myself, how far can I push this?
Oh my God.
If I say no again, they're going to come back with a better deal. And if they don't, then I still have this deal, you know?
Or do you? I don't know.
And that's what I thought. And so I said, no, 4 to 6 years. They said, this is the second plea deal that we've offered you that you're declining. I said, yeah. And they said, we're not obligated to come back and offer you a third plea deal. And I said, I know. And they said, so you're not going to take this deal. And I said, so I don't take this deal. I sit here a little bit longer. You possibly come back. And I was very frank. You possibly come back, give me a better deal. You possibly don't. And then I take this deal. And they said, okay. I said, okay. Sat there another 2 months. So at this point, I'm there 6 months. And they said, you got court in the morning. Same thing. I go and they say, 2 to 4 years is our last deal that we're going to give you. 2 to 4 years. And 2 years suspended license, 2 years with an interlock, with a blower in the car. And I said, okay, this sounds a bit better.
But that's great compared to that first one.
Yeah. And so, and he said, but we want to give you an option that you can either go to 2 years suspended, 2 years go and blow, or you can go to a place called Community Corrections. And it is a place where you will go to 6-7 classes a day on recovery. You'll have a job, but you will be immersed in recovery and getting help. So I said, well, what's the catch? Because they tell me, you'll probably only do a year at ACC. And we'll take the 6 months that you were in county, we'll put it towards your time, but you're going to be going through recovery. It's going to be much more difficult. You're going to have to pass. You're going to have to go through. You're going to have to work the steps. And if you fail...
Now, when you say steps, for our listening audience, steps...
the 12 steps.
12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, recovery.
So they
call it Addiction Anonymous.
So they call it AA. They say, it's AA and I wasn't familiar with any of the recovery terminology. And they said, you're going to work the steps,
Right.
And so, and they said, but you could fail out of that and get kicked out and go over to Arkansas Department of Corrections, to prison, if you don't pass this course. And then your time starts the 2 to 4 years. And that time is dead time in county. That time is dead time at ACC. So you could sit at ACC for 6 months, you could sit at ACC for a year, and then now having already done 6 months in county, you have a year and a half of incarceration, you fail out, you don't graduate, you then go to Arkansas Department of Corrections.
Wow.
And so that's the caveat.
How long did you actually do in ACC?
So I was told that I did exceptionally well because I did 6 months and graduated.
Wow. So you got 6 months in county, 6 months in ACC, and you're subjected to the 12 steps. I'm just curious, while you're in ACC, are you having, because you said you're working the steps, you're going through 6 or 7 different meetings a day, you're immersed. Mm-hmm. Did you have an epiphany of some sort outside of, I mean, dude, I can see that you hit bottom. That's obvious. But now you're in this confined area and you're pounded with recovery. Boom, boom, boom. Did something happen in there that was a turning point in your life at that point, or did it come later? Or what happened?
So I started out and I was like, I'm going to fake it till I make it through this program, right?
That's fair.
And I'm going to do the 90 meetings in 90 days because I know they're pushing that, and that's what the parole board wants to see. They want to see 90 meetings, 90 days. They want to see you doing everything above and beyond to work the program, right? And so I do that. And in that, starting it, okay, this will look good for the parole board. It went from I'm just doing this to get out and for it to look good to, holy moly, I'm identifying with a lot of this stuff. And I didn't even know there was a name or a... when they talk about criminal addictive thinking, when they talk about coping mechanisms, when they talk about, and I'm thinking, I didn't know that this was so well known, that this describes what I have and what I'm going through.
So up until this point, everything since Katie passed,
mm-hmm.
ever since she passed, you don't realize that you're not unique.
Right.
That there's other people out there, a lot of other people that have gone through this. So you're seeing that, and you're starting to have some awakening, or what would you call it?
Yeah, I started to realize, in sitting in group and hearing these other guys talking about their stories, and them sharing what their life experiences have been, that wow, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one that has gone through things. I'm not the only one that has has suffered in my life and led to a place where I was drinking or doing drugs to numb the pain of the realities of things that have happened in life. And it's not just me, because up until that point I was like, okay, Lord, why me? Why my wife? Why the mother to my kids? There's people that live their whole lives. They're married 30, 40, 50 years. They don't suffer any loss. They don't, it's just me. Why me? And then I get around all these guys and they've got stories just as bad, if not worse than mine. And
wow.
And it was tough. And between DWI 3 and 4, I believe my brother committed suicide, and so that led down a bad path as well. So that didn't help.
So wait, between the 3rd and the 4th DWI, and you got 5 of these in 2 months.
Yeah.
And so in this, oh my gosh, Katie passes, a year goes by. You get 3 DWIs, and in the brother that you had a challenged youth with,
mm-hmm.
suicides.
Yeah, he decides, hey, I hear my brother's going through this, and my mom has now moved to Arkansas. My brother's in Arkansas. I'm the only one still here in Texas, and he reaches out to me and says, hey, I'd like to move there, and could I crash with you for a little bit until I find my own place? I work remotely for a computer company. I can work anywhere, and I just want to be there, and I want to try to have a relationship with my brother, and I know you're going through a hard time. So he does, and he moves in with me, and so I'm at work, and I get a call, you need to come home. My brother's in the front yard waving a gun around, and I come up, and he looks at me, and he says, Cody, I'm sorry, and then shoots himself in the head right in front of me, in front of everybody else.
Cody, it wasn't bad enough, everything else you just told us, but then, you're going through your stuff. He's obviously going through his, and then this happens.
Yeah. So that definitely did not help. And so going back to ACC, I'm in ACC. I'm just going through the motions, faking it to make it, and then it starts to really make sense to me. And I'm sharing that, and I'm sharing, being vulnerable with these guys, and a small group of guys, because not every guy's in there. A lot of guys are faking it till they make it the whole way, right? They're never receptive or wanting to get help. They know as soon as they get out, they're going right back to it.
There for the grace of God we go.
And so,
and we see it when we're there.
Yeah.
When we see guys like you that come up to us afterwards, they show us their tentative plans of action. We help tighten it up. And then there's other guys that we can see it, but the deal is, at least there's some seeds being planted. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how that we have hope for them. But we want to focus on guys like you. So where did you go from there?
So I got into a step study, and I met this guy who was coming into the facility, and he's now today my sponsor. And so I get out, and I think to myself, I don't know anything about the system. I get out, and I make parole, and they said, okay, well, part of your parole condition is for you to go to a transitional house, a halfway house. So I look at a bunch of different halfway houses, and I read about them, and they look great, and they got these pretty pictures, and and so I get out and I go there, and I'm like, okay, here I am. I'm going to continue working the steps, continue my sobriety. I'm going to get my life back together. And I get to this halfway house, and they're drinking and drugging everywhere in the halfway house.
Oh my gosh! Hey, I got to interject this. We don't want to say any names for anonymity purposes. But the director that you had then and the chaplain then, are they still there? Those two people care. Mm-hmm. We, of course, Pat liaisons with the chaplain. We had to get through our audition, in order to go in and work with the folks that are there. Mm-hmm. But during our, what do you call it, a field trip, the director came out and met us, and just... those guys are blessed that they're there and not in the mainstream corrections, and that those two particular people, they're besides all the guards that we've met. I really think those guys get a great shake, because I have never heard of a facility like that in all the years that I worked in recovery, working with different prison systems. So you're blessed to have ran through that. So you're out, you're in this house, illicits are available. Where do you go?
Well, I will say that, touching on what you said really quick, I was in ACC with the Lord really blessed me with that option, because I was in there with guys that said, I've been to prison 4, 5, 6 times. They've never even given me the option to come to ACC, to a facility that offers help. This is the first time. I've been to prison several times, and this is the first time they've offered me ACC, and you're telling me this is your first time down, and they gave you this option the first time. So I was super blessed for that.
Definitely. Huge shout out.
Yeah. So I'm at the halfway house, and I'm thinking, okay, I got to be here 6 months. I'm there 4 months, and it gets so bad. And like you said, anonymity, but the director that was there at this specific halfway house was embezzling tens of thousands of dollars from the halfway house. The corporate comes in and drug tests all the staff. Most of the staff fails for a bunch of different things, and they fire most of them. And I use this as an excuse, and I say to my parole officer, hey, I know you heard what's happened at the halfway house that I'm at, and I'd like to, I know I'm supposed to be there 6 months per what you told me, but it's a really bad place for my recovery. I really want to do well, and I'd like for you to approve me to leave this halfway house. And
how do you say no to that?
Yeah. And he said, you give me an address, I'll look into the address, and I'll approve it. And I said, okay. And so the person that I knew that would have been good, I called my sponsor and I said, hey, this is what it is. And he's coming every week to visit me at the halfway house. We're we're having lessons. We're working through it, and he said he said, I have a 1-bedroom apartment. You can sleep on the floor on an air mattress. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And so then I move in with him, and I sleep on the floor on an air mattress for a year, and I get a job at a pizza place scrubbing dishes. And then I apply at the job that I met Pat at. And
you smell this so far? This is called humility. Yeah. Wow, dude. I mean, really, because a lot of guys, and I know this, but a lot of guys get out and they can't check humility, man. You know, they want what they had before, or they want more, or whatever. And here you are going, no, man. At this point, you don't sound like you're serving Cody. Who are you serving?
So at this point, and I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, God, I'm not angry with God anymore, but I'm wondering, you know, what is, at this point I thought to myself, what is this supposed to teach me? What is this supposed to, you know, what am I supposed to get out of this? What am I supposed to learn from this situation? And I'm trying to figure that out. And I don't think that there was really one specific point that I was supposed to learn out of it. I mean, I met a lot of great people, and I learned, if I would say one takeaway, is that through all of that, you know, I wanted the nice shiny things. I wanted the big house and the nice car and the nice clothes. And at that point, I realized that stuff's not important. You know, what's important is human connection. What's important is love. What's important is your family. What's important are the things that money can't buy. And I really understood that at that point. I stopped chasing a big corporate job. I stopped chasing the nice car. And I realized, and there were times I'm scrubbing dishes at a pizza place. Wow. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, Lord, this is during this season. And I would take time and I'd go into the walk-in freezer and I'd sit down on a big bucket of ranch and I'd pray and I'd say, okay, this, and I'd think to myself, and at this time I'm trying to reach out to my in-laws and I'm sending them letters, and I'm seeing how my kids are doing. They're non-responsive at all. I haven't talked to my kids. I don't know how they are. I don't know what they're doing. And I'm saying, I'm going to get through this. And I'm not going to be in this dish pit scrubbing dishes forever.
That's right.
And I'm going to work hard. And I ended up getting promoted, became supervisor of the place. But at the same time, I knew that the pizza place wasn't forever. I don't have a car. I don't have a driver's license. I'm walking to work, and then I get myself a bicycle, and then I'm biking to work, and I'm getting there a little bit quicker. And then Are
you living with your sponsor at this time?
Living with my sponsor, yeah. And so then I apply at this other job, and I get an interview, and I go in, and I'm just completely honest with him. And I said, look, I'm scrubbing dishes at the place down the road, and you know, this I have professional skills. I can do accounting, I can do clerical work, I can answer phones, I can do customer service, I can do, and really great interview, and I had a really good feeling about it. But at the end of the interview, I just felt the need to say, regardless of whether you all choose me for this position, I appreciate your time in talking with me. And at the end of the day, the Lord's plan, if it's for the glory of His kingdom, and for this to be the next step in my life, is to have this job, then it's going to happen. If it's not, then He has something better in store for me.
Wow.
And
you're 34 years old?
34.
I'm going to be like you when I grow up.
And so
that is just amazing. You are a miracle.
Well,
so now are you, I have to ask, so you're riding a moped these days?
Yeah, now I've upgraded the bike to a motorized bike, so I'm on a moped now.
What is it, 49 cc's? 49
cc's is the legal legal
great.
moped. If it's under 50 cc's in the state of Arkansas, it's considered a motorized bicycle. And
you don't have to blow and go on that.
No, okay. no driver's license, no registration.
That's
no,
right.
No
That's
insurance,
right.
no nothing.
That's right. That's what we call an Indian Harley Davidson. No offense to anybody. Ring, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. It's Scooty Puff Jr. is what I'm rolling around on.
You got your own apartment now?
Got my own apartment now.
Do you have contact with your children?
I do now.
Ooh, do tell.
And so through continuing to reach out and contact my in-laws and begging and pleading, and that's the thing about, and what I found is I'm also not unique in that aspect either, is that, you know, you start to turn your life around and you want to make amends, and you want to reach out to these people that you've harmed. And but what I found is that a lot of the times, and I was no different, I wasn't unique, is that I was so ready to make amends, but they weren't ready to accept an amends.
Oh, that's fair.
And so
They're hurt. They lost their daughter. I get it. I can see that.
yeah, so I don't let it discourage me. I keep trying, and I get a letter back. And so that progresses into they agreed to let me talk to the boys on the phone. And then they agreed to let me FaceTime with the boys. And they're filling me out. What are you doing? How are you doing? Where are you working? What are you doing? Who are you with? And so they're filling me out. And so fast forward to now, 2 weekends ago, I took the boys to the trampoline park. And we hung out and we jumped around on trampolines and we played dodgeball and went through all the obstacle courses. And they said, Dad, and I can't even understand I was so worried that my kids were my dad's a piece of crap and they're never going to want to have it. But they didn't at all. They were just happy that I was there. They're happy that I want to be there. And I told them, and up until that point, I'm in their lives for everything, everything, until Katie passes and I go into addiction. And so, and my dad not being in my life, I always promised myself, I'm always going to do anything and everything I can to be the best father that I can be. And I'm going to shield these kids from everything. And I'm not going to let them have any heartache or trouble, and I'm going to make sure they have a good life and they have, and I couldn't, there was nothing I could do. I felt very powerless. They lost their mom, and then dad falls apart. But it's amazing how resilient, and they just wanted me there. They didn't, and in that time my mother and father-in-law agreed to family therapy. So we go to family therapy with the mother and father-in-law, with the boys in the room, with me in the room, and with the therapist. And the therapist talks about, how are you doing? How's the job? How's your recovery? And I'm doing drug tests every month, not by court order, but by choice, because I want to show them out of good faith that I'm clean. And I'm doing urine tests every 30 days and hair follicle tests every 90 days, because I want them to know that I'm serious about it. And I'm not going to stop doing that until they really truly understand that, like, there's nothing and no one that is going to stand in my way, not alcohol, not anything, from being in my children's lives as much as possible. Every moment, every t-ball practice, every soccer game. And so in a couple weeks, I have my youngest son has a piano recital. So it's things. I've got a great job. I'm back in accounting and finance. I mean, by the grace of God, I never thought.
And they know completely your history.
Yeah. And in that interview that I talked about, the guy, he looked at me and he goes,
Goodness.
It's not about where you've been or the things you've done. It's about what you're doing with yourself now. And what you are going to do going forward. And he said,
that's incredible.
And I said, okay. I came back for a second interview, and
I wish we could give that guy a huge shout out, but we've got to remain anonymous.
Yeah. And so he gave me a shot. Wow. And I had my foot in the door, and I was like, I'm going to show him what I can do. And,
boom.
And so I did. And then that transitioned into with the same company, I got offered a position in a different department, which happened to be accounting and finance.
Cody, you have an amazing story. Let's switch gears for a little bit, and let's talk about what in the solution category. Okay. What do you believe you need to continue to do to stay on this wonderful track that you're on?
If I could sum it up, it's going to be to do, and I say this, do what feels right. Mm-hmm. And when I say that, I don't mean it makes you feel good. I mean, in your heart, do truly listen to that small, still voice that is there, that has always been there, and follow that. Follow that intuition. For me, I can only speak for myself. I statements like, for me, that's what I have been doing. And it's gotten to a point to where when things don't work out, or I'm a very big planner. I'm going to do this, and this is a step, and this is how I'm going to get there, and this is what I'm going to do to get there. And I'm going to do the hard work, and that's what it's going to take to get there. But what I've realized is it doesn't always look like Cody thinks it's going to look. And when I make a plan in my life and that plan doesn't work out in the time frame or in the manner that I think it's going to work out, I don't even get upset anymore. I know, hey, this isn't working out for a reason. Whatever that reason is, I'm not even, it could be, I've now learned, okay, it's not going to work this way. I've tried it this way. Maybe I need to try it this other way. Maybe I need to switch it up a little bit. Maybe I need to work harder at this or work harder at that. But ultimately, it doesn't matter how hard I work. To an extent, it does. If it's not in God's plan, it's not going to happen. And for me to listen to that voice, if in my heart it doesn't feel right, I don't do it anymore. If in my heart it does feel right, I was sharing with Pat just on the way over here that I met this guy outside of Goodwill. And me and my mom loves going to Goodwill. We went to Goodwill, and I'm outside, and she's shopping, and there's this guy, and he's outside, and he's singing praise and worship music with a guitar. And I just sat down and listened to him, and he got done with his praise song, and I clapped for him, and because it felt right, and I enjoyed the song. And he said, "You're the only person that's clapped for me for anything. People come by and they drop change, and you're the only person that sat down and clapped for me and listened to my music." And I got to talking to him, and I said, "Do you mind if I take a picture with you? You mind if I take a video of you singing and worshiping?" And he said, "Yeah, no problem." And that voice told me, "Hey, I know someone who would really enjoy this, someone who's really strong in their faith that would love this, and that I just really, truly feel like this person would want to experience this moment." So I sent the text message and the video over to them, and they respond with a photo of them and this guy. And they say, "Oh yeah, that's Bert. I know Bert. Bert, I met him at this church, and he sings praise and worship music. Love this man. I've known him for years."
That's awesome.
And I said, something told me that I haven't talked to you in months. You've moved out of the area, and we haven't talked in a while. But something told me that this interaction with this man, you would enjoy. Something, the Lord put it on my heart that this was something that I needed to share with you specifically. And she said,
"Wow,
yeah." She said, "Yeah, I know Bert very well. I love that man." And
wow, good story. So listen, look, I love that. You're actually reaching out to this guy in a way, and along those lines of reaching out to people, there's an adage: we can't keep it unless we give it away.
That's right.
Tell me what that means to you.
So what that means to me is I work with my church now that I've gone through the steps, and I'm in a place in my life where I work with the jail and prison ministry in my church, and I get on Zoom every week with the men who are in the local jail, and they get on the other side of the Zoom, and they're in a reentry program, and I see some of these guys, and they get out and they come to the church, and they change their lives, and they rekindle relationships. And I see some of the guys, and I see them for a week or two at church, and then 2 or 3 weeks go by, and then I see him on the other side of the screen again.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but for those few, those handful of men that I'm able to talk with and minister to, and even just if it's just one person that I'm able to connect with, and I'm able to give them a little bit of insight that there is hope. You can restore your relationships with your family. You can better your life, and it's very possible. I'm living proof of that. And if you ever need anything, if you ever just need to talk, call me.
Love it.
And I
love it.
And I find more in doing that than anything else. Than anything else.
That is beautiful, Yana. Right? You are not alone.
Yeah.
And on that line, listening audience, what would you say to folks that have lost a spouse, that have gotten DWIs, that have been formerly incarcerated, that are might be listening to the show and searching? What would you say to them?
I'd say that you're not alone. There are people out there that have similar struggles that have gone through and or are going through that. You need to surround yourself with people that are good influences. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people that you connect with, that are bettering themselves, that want better for themselves, because the fellowship and the camaraderie, it makes a huge difference. We can't do it by ourselves. We need accountability partners. We need people in our lives that are going to hold us accountable. We need people that are going to check in on us. We need people that are going to care. And we need, just in the same breath, I get a lot out of being a sponsee. You know, I've seen changes in my sponsor, positive changes in him, where he's now become more understanding, more open, and less, you know, there are a lot of things that I've seen change in him, and just having me as a sponsee. And just the same way that I need a good group of men around me, you know, you're not alone, you're not unique, and it's not just you. There are a lot of us that have gone through and are going through it. And to get yourself into a good network of people that you can surround yourself with, it makes a big difference. Don't isolate. Don't self-isolate. Don't sit at home.
Oh, good words.
You know, because I could do that. I could very easily do that, and I find myself sitting at home and I think, no, I gotta go to a meeting. I gotta reach out to somebody. I need to do this, because I know that for me, I can only speak for myself. I'm going to be a person that is going to be in recovery and in the recovery ministry and this for the rest of my life. Because I find such joy in it, even if I can help one person.
Because you need to be and you want to be.
Yeah.
That's all. Man, you have a fantastic, beautiful story. So we do periodic man jams, and it's topical based. And I'd like to ask you, you know, if you would come back and share some of those insights as we throw topics out for our listening audience. Pat, of course, is part of our crew. There's a few other guys, but yeah, I'd like to invite you back for that if you don't mind.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that.
That's great. Well, listen, Cody, this has been wonderful. I'm going to ask you if you have any closing words or thoughts that you'd like to leave us with.
I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to share. To hopefully somebody listens to this and is able to get something out of it. And you guys, going back to that, listening to that inner voice, and that what feels good. This feels good. Hanging out with you guys feels good. And I've been telling Pat, you know, May 2nd is my 2 years out of ACC, and that's what they told me, because I've been begging and pleading, let me back in ACC, let me back to talk to these guys. And they said, you've got to be out for 2 years. And today's that 2 years. And I told Pat, I said, let's get going, man. I'm fired up to get in there and talk to these guys and to share the hope. And it's something that it feels right. You know, you guys feel right. I know that the Lord put Pat in my life and put you in my life for a reason in this moment where we are right now. And I really want to, you know, continue to get to know you guys and hang out more and do more stuff together.
Oh, man. Hey, we're not an exclusive club. The only desire is what is it? The only requirement is a desire to say it, Pat.
Stop drinking.
There you go.
Man, a few words. Pat, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, actually I do, Bob. And, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm just, wow, you know. So I got three things, Cody, you know, and you just said it. You know, God puts people in our lives. We don't know why, but he does. I truly believe that, because my story, when I came, I can't even talk. I mean, I'm really wow.
Yeah.
When I came into the program that I do, there's been instances that I can't explain, but people have come into my life and it's fulfilled my life. It's enriched. It's made me better. And the story I just heard from you is, you know, that the trials and tribulations of life, you know, and the perseverance of a person, you know, it's doing the difficult things and coming out on the other side clean, you know, and I see that. I saw it from the it's hard to describe, but we talk about it in the program. The people that are walking the walk and talking the talk, you know, and when those two are coming together, man, there's powerful things are happening with those people, and I see that with you, Cody. And you know, our relationship has, you know. I never would have guessed that story that you just told from the day one that I met you. But I'm glad I've heard that story, and I can say, holy crap, you know, this guy's doing it. You know, despite everything. I mean, you were down in the dumps. I mean, I don't know how much lower somebody could go. I don't want to think about it.
No.
But to see you persevere and come back and look where you are now, and know, here's what my sponsor said: you think this is good, it only gets better.
Amen.
You know, it only gets better.
Yeah.
And that brings the hope. You know, what Bob was talking about is you keep walking the walk, you keep talking the talk, and it only gets better. It
Amen.
only gets better.
Good word, brother. Cody, God's got a plan for you.
Absolutely.
I am so blessed to have met you. I'm sure that our listening audience is equally grateful to have heard your story. And with that, we're going to wrap up. Folks, this has been shoutoutfromthepit.com. I'm your host, the Old Rucker, with our guest, Cody, and his training battle buddy, Pat. And listen, we do pray that you have an outstanding recovery day. And if nobody's told you they love you today, we love you. God bless. It was amazing to hear this young man's journey. And I got to tell you, and I from the bottom of my heart, if you're triggered, pound 988, suicide line. If you need to additional resources, please go to our resource page. Message us, talk to us, let us know how you felt about it. And we're always looking for opportunities to improve. So please share those thoughts with us. Redbeard?
If this episode puts you in a dark place, reach out to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, like our tagline, man, you are not alone. We're going to be doing more segments on suicide because it's a subject that's intimate to us. We've experienced it, family, friends, and stuff. We want to get that message out more, but not just it's not to glorify suicide, but to if you're a victim of it, whether you've attempted it or you were related, acquaintance, loved one, family. You are not alone. And we just, gosh, the thought of people experiencing these things and not knowing where to go tears me up. Again, message board, hit us up. And that's all I can think about right now. Other than our normal feelings, man. If nobody's told you they love you today, we love you. And we sincerely mean that from the bottom of our heart. And we do pray, as always, that you're having an outstanding recovery day. So God bless you. Until the next episode. Thanks for listening.